Hi, this is Rick. I'm here in my studio, and you're visiting my YouTube channel, Rick Surowicz Watercolor. Once again this year, I decided to put together a series of holiday card videos that you can share with your friends and family. I post all the content on the project page of my website. If you go there, you'll find the links for the videos, links for the templates that I use for the cards, and reference photos of the cards themselves. And they're all 5 by 7 inches. And you can put those on a blank greeting card stock or just on regular watercolor paper, whatever you choose. But I hope you enjoy watching this series and enjoy painting them and sharing with your friends and family. I'm in my studio and I'm ready to begin this Christmas card painting, or this little holiday painting. And this is the template that you'll find on the project page of my website. You can find the link to my project page in the description of the video. It's a 5 by 7 template, and you can transfer that to a greeting card stock or watercolor paper, whatever you want to do. I've got mine transferred to this I have a 5.5 by 7.5 inch sheet of paper, so allow room for the taping. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get going. And what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to use some masking fluid. This is a technique I use frequently in some of the winter paintings so that I can stay transparent in my approach. And I'm going to be using a fine line masking fluid bottle. And all I'm going to do with this is I want to create just this, the appearance of snow laying on some of the branches and sticking to the trunks on the sides of the trees. And I might throw a couple other little branches in there that will show once I paint over some of this. So there's some kind of curved tree trunks here that kind of lean, they have a lean to it. So just a little bit of masking fluid just to suggest that snow that's adhering to the side, and not a lot there. And that's all I'm really going to use this bottle for. I might put a few little marks in here that will suggest branches or something. And that's probably about all I need. So I'm going to cap that. You want to cap it as soon as you stop working with one of these, if this is the technique you use. And the next thing I'm going to do is I like to create snowy scenes in some of these winter things, and it's appropriate for holiday cards. So I take a toothbrush, an old toothbrush or a cheap toothbrush, dip it in some masking fluid, rub off some of the excess, and then I'll just splatter that around the page to give me a snowy appearance. And I pull the bristles back and to create a pattern, and sometimes too I tap it like this. It gives a bigger pattern of the droplet that falls is much bigger when I tap it on my hand. But you got to be careful. Sometimes you'll get some big drops. It's not a big deal if you do. Let it dry, and when it's dry, before you paint, just peel off anything that you don't like. And that's really all I'm going to do to this one. I might throw just a little bit more in here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that air dry, and then I'm going to begin to paint. Okay, I'm back in the studio here after having masked this and let it dry. And I'm going to start with a wash, and I'm going to start with the sky on this card. So I'm going to take some royal blue. I'm using a number 8 round brush. A lot of times I'd use a bigger brush, but I'm going to work with a couple different colors in this. I'm going to take a little raw sienna, put that over here. Okay, and I'm going to start with this royal blue, not real dark. And I'm going to start up here in the sky with my royal blue. And as I come down, I'm going to start to change over to a warmer horizon in the sky. And I just paint over these trees. Remember, I masked the area where snow is going to be lying on them. And the trees are going to be much darker for the most part. So I'm not too worried about trying to paint around the trees in this particular instance. And now I'm going to switch over to water. So I'm just using clear water at the moment. Paint it around the barn. And now I'm going to take some of this raw sienna and work that. I start down lower and then kind of work that wash up into the blue that's coming down there. So I want this to be a warm horizon. Add a little bit more. Always make sure you have enough paint in your brush. Don't use just a dry brush. And now I'm going to take some water and I'm just going to bring these colors together, let them kind of mingle on the page, and bring this wash down. And it'll get a little bit of a mixing on the page. But you can see now I have a blue sky. I'm actually going to go just a little deeper up at the top. It's still wet enough. I can put a little more color, more value in that. All right, and now I want to dry this, and I'll paint some of these areas here. But the edge is too wet. I want to have it maintain a harder edge there. So before I paint this shape and this shape, I'm gonna dry this, and I'll be able to maintain a hard edge on that. So that's dry. If you wanted to go with a little darker sky, you could. I kept it fairly light to middle value. And now I'm going to take some more of this royal blue. And in this case, I'm going to paint in. Oops, I want to maintain that edge. Just a simple wash over this. And then I'm going to take a 1/2 inch flat brush, and I'm going to take a 1/2 inch flat brush with some of this royal blue on here. I'm just going to kind of drag the belly of the brush a little bit, give me some texture. A little stronger paint. And if I want this a little darker, which I do, and add just a little bit of red in there to give me just a touch of violet. So that's still soft. And once again, I'm going to dry that. I'm going to start painting up here, but I don't want to put my hand in this, and there's an area here I want to paint before I start to put some washes over this. So let me go ahead and dry that. I'll fill this little spot there, and then I'll continue. Okay, we dried that. There's one little area I'm going to paint before I go much further. So I'm going to take some sap green, add a little bit of water, and I'm going to, actually before I do that, I'm going to take some pyro red. I'm going to paint this first. So I want to paint this, but the wreath that I have drawn to put on this barn. So I'm going to paint that first so I don't lose the white of the paper. I can keep the brightness. And I'm going to quickly dry that, and I'm going to paint the green. I don't want them to run together. So that the bow is dry. Now I'm going to take some of the sap green. I'm going to paint in the wreath. This way I can keep a brighter color by painting on the white of the paper, because I'm going to come glazing by with some shadow colors on there, and I don't want to lose the white of the paper. So there's my little wreath. Now I want to dry that before I do paint the shadowed areas. Okay, that's dry. So I'm going to take some of this royal blue, and first I'm just going to put kind of a middle value down here. take some of that and go this way. Put a little bit up here where the snow and it's laying on the rooftop. I could have gone a little lighter with that, but there's some areas here that I'm going to glaze the side of that. Let me put a few marks in here, show some of these boards. This is where some of the boards meet that make up the siding on this. So we'll just give a slight indication of some boards being here and where they come together, some different rows of them. Bring this down. All right, I'm going to dry that because there's some areas here that I want to put a wash on. So now I have a number 6 wash brush, and I probably could have put this wash on first and then come back with the shadowed areas that I started with. But we'll come glaze over that. Just using this royal blue. I should have done this one first. So I'm going to go a little darker in some of these. So let me give that a dry and I'll come back with some darker shadows. Okay, so now go just a little darker. And what I want is more of a shadow under here. A little darker here. Back with a few darker marks in here. We'll throw a few marks in here to indicate some boards. And that's probably enough. And let's see, go a little more under here. The shadow in here where the kind of under the wreath. All right, now I'm going to dry that and I'm going to paint in some of the trees. Okay, so for the trees, I'm just going to take some raw umber, add it to this blue that I have. Maybe take a little burnt orange and put out there. All right, I still have my number 6 round brush. I'll just use that. I'm going to paint in these trees. These trees are kind of at an angle. You could use a rigger brush, a wider rigger brush for this. Get a little warmer color. I'm just going to break those shapes up a little bit. So if I was going to go with a rigger brush, I have one here. It's a number 6 that has kind of a blunt point on it. So I would just use that. To make some of these marks. You could go either way with a round brush rigger for these trunks. Okay, and I'm going to go to another rigger brush here that I use that has I can get a finer point on. So I'm just going to put a few branches in here. Maybe some things growing up from the ground, some saplings and some briar bushes or whatever. Put a couple over here. It's a little too dark. Too big a mark I was making there, so we'll just move over. Put a few grassy shapes or a couple things over here. Some branches on. Need to get just a little darker in a couple of these so they're not transparent. I kind of go right over top of some of the marks I made with the masking fluid, so that it'll kind of highlight it once I reveal the white of the paper. So I'm going to go just a bit of a darker mixture here. Paint on a couple of these. Maybe a few more branches here. And we'll get a couple here. Almost like the tangles of the branches. Okay, so now I'm going to take just a little of this royal blue and a number 4 round brush, and I'm just going to make a few marks to accent some edges, balance the darker value. Some kind of calligraphy type marks, calligraphic marks. Probably don't need to do much more to that. Yeah, let's see. I might go just a little bit off this edge. And I'm going to take 6 round brush and a little of this blue. I'm just going to throw a couple marks of some splatter in here just to move that value around. And now let me dry that and I'll take off the masking fluid. So that's dry, so we'll take off the masking fluid. And I'm going to take a few dark marks and overlap some of the light marks just so it makes sense, because they're not all just going to be revealed without having something overlap some of them. And that's probably enough right there. Okay, so here's another holiday painting, and you know, simple washes, simple shapes, a little bit of texture, and using the masking fluid to create a kind of a snowy scene. So I hope you enjoyed that and enjoy painting it.